Hi, how are you?
Very good.
Good.
I'm Wyland Choker of Your Fellow Patriots Broadcasting.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And we're independent. And I'm just here to interview people. And was wondering, are you excited to be here today?
I am. I'm very excited to be here supporting a good cause and freedom and liberty for our state. And that's what we're hoping that this will accomplish is freeing Washington. And I think when you have a governor that's keeping the pot shops and the liquor stores open but closing the churches and schools, there's something wrong. When you're letting the prisoners out but you're incriminating the law-abiding citizens, there's something wrong. So I just think that people need to stand up for our rights and our Constitution and our religious freedoms and liberties and what makes our country so great. So that's what we're here to support. We love America.
There are 3 words that this young lady is going to be speaking over there, and I was wondering if she might be willing to give us a preview. 3 words. 3 words.
Inslee must go.
That works. No. You want to try it?
Open Washington now.
Actually, what were those 3 words again?
Open Washington now.
Actually, what is it again?
Open Washington now.
Open Washington now! Open Washington now! Louder! Open Washington now! 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 Open Washington now!
I don't think he heard us, but we're going to get closer so he can hear it. Fathers and daughters, man.
Come on.
Like your sign, sir.
Hi.
Are you happy to be here today?
Yes, I am.
Ma'am, are you happy to be here today?
Oh, I love it. We
Wonderful.
finally can win the governorship. Tim
Excellent.
Eyman for governor. He is the best. He has more experience than anyone, 22, 23 years. He's been helping and dedicating his life to the Washington state people. And he sacrificed his life, really. So we love him, we respect him, and we think he can win.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Thank you so much for that.
Ready to rock and roll? All right. Move it. March. Love that one. Yes. Anything will do. Anything you want to say about, hey, I've seen Tim over the many years.
Hey, Inslee, we're coming to come see you.
There it is. Can't be wrong. Can't be done wrong. Over up here.
Jay Inslee is non-essential.
Oh, up here? I love it. There. Anthony, good. I'm glad you got up here. Yes. Good to see you as well. This is awesome, man.
So many term limits on that.
We don't know.
Could use a puzzle too. Okay, thank you.
Just want a good governor.
Amen. Are you people happy to be here today? You guys ready to get your freedom back?
Yes. Freedom! And if that's a tiger, love it. Love it.
Do y'all love freedom?
Yeah.
Y'all love liberty?
Love the hat.
I did right there.
Is this a beautiful day in America?
Because Attorney General Barr said this is what he wants to do. We want him to open Washington up.
Amen.
And
also no contact tracing. I'm here for that.
Jesse Young! Jesse Young!
Hey everybody. Well, while we're ready to get going, I asked him if he thought it'd be cool if I share a couple stories with you. I think you'll get a kick out of these. So if the truck is coming around, it's kind of apropos. If you don't know, this is the main pathway that the governor should ideally take to come out of his mansion. He'll walk down here. This path was built. This path is brand new, by the way, this session. This wasn't here before, but they built it so it's easier to walk across. And right back there is one of our secure doors. So typically when the legislative building is closed or locked down, we come in and that's the door I go through with one of my badges to get in. Now, that door is meant for the governor to have quick access to walk on through, hit an elevator, and go over to his office. But would you believe me if I told you that he doesn't use this access? The running story around here is very rarely, in my 7 years down here in Olympia, I've only crossed the governor's path making this trip twice. Do you know what he does instead, Mr. Green Governor? Instead, every day, he'll have a motorcade drive up through the gate over there. They'll wait for him. The governor will come out, he'll get into his motorcade, at least 3 cars. They will drive out of that exit, they'll drive around the Supreme Court building, come all the way around the other side, and then they'll drive in through his private parking lot down underneath the Capitol building, and then he'll come up. That's the running joke around here. Now, how many of you believe me if that's true? Who's paying the bill for this? You are. The taxpayer funds all this. So now,
They put flat tires.
you're getting pulled back like my wife pulls me back sometimes. I appreciate that. I get frustrated too. Look, the funny thing is it's not really funny, is it? It's kind of sad. The hypocrisy that exists down here in the Capitol, and it's coming from our top ranks, is really something that probably motivated a lot of you to come today. And while a story like that makes you kind of think and go, well, gosh dang it, the hypocrisy, it'd be nice if the news media up there would report it. It'd be nice if they actually showed, look, if you want, the worst thing that people hate about politics is that they're hypocrites. Now, is there anybody out here that doesn't think that Tim Eyman is one of the most transparent people around? He's had his background double checked, triple checked, quadruple checked, and he's still out here standing and fighting for the taxpayer. That's a good thing. Okay, so in terms of the legislative session, you all know that we're part-time. This is the first time in my life where I've actually started to think that maybe the legislature should not be part-time. Because the governor being able to keep us on the sideline and effectively run this state as a dictator is making me think that maybe we should be full-time representatives. Now that's a scary thing, and as a conservative, never thought that I'd ever advocate for that. But dang it, if I'm sitting here on the sideline begging the governor to call us back into session so we can actually represent you. Because right now, this is not what any of us ever thought would ever happen. The most telling thing about one of his press releases, well, a number of them now, has been that if you watch the whole thing, if you can stomach it, is that he ends up referencing polls. Why is the governor referencing poll numbers in his decisions for how he's going to deal with the COVID-19 crisis? I thought we were supposed to be looking at health and data and statistics. I thought that we were all agreeing, at least initially, we said we're going to try to help our fellow man because we're going to try to make sure everybody was healthy. But how does that have to do with political polling data that the governor is basing his decisions off of? If that's not a Freudian slip, I've never seen one. I'm glad that the news media is coming down here. I've never seen someone quite like, other than maybe Donald Trump, someone like Tim Eyman who can get the media to come down here and waste hours worth of fuel with a helicopter hovering there in the air. Yeah, so the question was, what is the specific statute, including the subsection, that specifically prohibits this gentleman from opening and running his business? Well, there is no statute that specifically says that. Here's where the law is. Now, there's an overarching question, but typically speaking, the statute is 43.06.220. Now that statute is where it's defined in state code that deals with the governor's supposed powers for an emergency declaration. Now, under that statute, there are 4 subsections, and then under the first 2 subsections, there are 8 or 9 subsections. Now, that is where the governor is deriving his powers or supposed powers. Now, there are those of us that do not believe that law or that statute, as it is currently written on the books, would survive judicial review. I am one of those people. I think that if that is challenged all the way up to the Supreme Court, it will be stricken down because it is not constitutional. No. So under subsection 1 of that statute, there is nothing in there specifically that says the governor can shut down business. What the governor is claiming is under subsection 1, point F and G, the governor basically has 2 catch-all phrases in there, and under that, that's where he is justifying his action to say that he has to force us to shelter in place, any of these economic shutdowns. Now, many people have made the assertion, well, doesn't the governor have to come back to the legislature every 30 days to renew these? Well, yes and no. Now, again, I've already told you I don't think that this law or the statute would survive constitutional review, so that's a debate that many of us have been having behind closed doors for a while. And of course, there are those of us that are screaming and demanding that we call us back into session. I've already got bills being written and drafted right now, along with another number of representatives that are going to seek to strike out and clean that language up. But specifically, under subsection 1 to the gentleman's question, it does give the governor some catch-all authority to try to make some of these claims to shut us down. Under subsection 4, it does tell the governor that he has to come back to us every 30 days to seek renewal. But it specifically says in section 4 that it doesn't apply to section 1. So that's why the governor's getting away on it with the technicality. Yes, ma'am.
But I can't go to church.
The question was, why can a pot shop be open but she can't go to church? I hope Governor Inslee heard you. That Governor, can you answer that question for us? Why can a pot shop be open but a church-going member can't even attend church on Easter? Can you tell us? No, listen. On the broader scope, on the broader scale of things, the governor has made some pretty critical mistakes. And the biggest mistake that the governor made in trying to deal with the health of the state was not engaging the church community. The church community would have cost the governor nothing in terms of taxpayer dollars, yet you would see a volunteer force embedded in every community step up to help those who are at risk. That was the biggest mistake. I'll be back to you guys in just a second.
Who loves rain? Welcome to Washington. If you don't like rain, you're living in the wrong state. So it's all good. Go to town.
Thank you all. Thanks for being here for this great event. A couple of speakers would like to say something about Tim before we bring him up here. First one is Marlon Jensen, longtime supporter, all right, friend of Tim's.
Okay. Hey, Marlon! Anyway, I love Tim Eyman. He was just a young guy, a young patriot, volunteer that was trying to save Washington taxpayers' money.
Yes.
He saw a need. He has worked tirelessly and dedicated his life and sacrificed a lot in his life to help all of us. Yes. And now is the time for us to return favors. We often, my family, my husband and son and myself, we'd often ask him, why don't you run for governor? And he said, that just isn't what I should be doing. I really feel that what these initiatives and all that he did for the people, that was his job. And I've known him 22, 23 years, that he's been volunteering, and then he finally had to get paid a little bit to keep his family. You know, we all volunteer a lot, but he was volunteering morning, noon, and night every day of the week. And so please, please spread the word about Tim. He is a wonderful man who has sacrificed so much. His family has sacrificed so much, and his lovely daughter Riley and his wife and children, and they've all sacrificed for all of us. So the least we can do is get him elected. Tim Eyman for governor. Yay!
Jesse Young. Jesse is a state representative. He's a real firebrand for the GOP in this state, our great state of Washington, and our Republican Party. Jesse.
All right, thank you. Hey, welcome everybody. Long time, huh? Listen, I just want to, Tim, I'm really proud that you stood up to run.
Everyone knows that you get a lot of scrutiny, but it's because you've had the courage and the conviction to stand up for taxpayer rights. It's an honor to work with you. I'm glad you're doing it, so thank you. Everybody make sure you keep them in your prayers in addition to considering how you're going to help them financially. It's going to be a long race. Listen, Tim asked me to come out and talk to you about a couple things that we've done in the legislature. Tim was successful again, as all of you remember. I'm sure all of you voted for the $30 car tab initiative. Does anybody remember what the governor told us at the time from the steps of this mansion? When that initiative passed, what did the governor say? We can't afford it. Do you remember all the negative ads that they said that Tim's initiative was going to shut down all of our bridges? We weren't going to be able to fill the potholes in our roads, and then we'd have to shut down all these projects. And of course, then the governor came on and said, well, that's exactly what we have to do. Of course, then it was, you know, the OSPI head, Chris Reichdahl, came out and said, we got to punish the communities that voted for this stuff. And that's what they did. But guess what? And a bipartisan rebuke to the governor. Now, if you don't know, Representative Jesse Young, I serve in leadership. I'm assistant ranking member on the Transportation Committee. We write the budget for transportation. And the governor came out and said it was impossible. The press covered the governor and said, oh my gosh, the sky is going to fall if we pass this $30 car tab initiative. The only way that we could fund it is if we raised your taxes. And that's exactly what the governor did. He tried to blackmail the legislature. He tried to blackmail all of you into saying, you're not going to get your projects unless we raise taxes. We called baloney on it, and in a bipartisan way this year, not only did we balance the budget again for transportation, we cut the budget to afford the $30 car tabs. So when the Supreme Court hopefully gets the ruling right, Tim, we can afford it. And we didn't need to raise your taxes. And we didn't need to go into debt. You know what? The biggest boondoggle out there is they try to say because he's bold and courageous, they try to say he's not as professional. But that initiative was written professionally. Tim Eyman did his homework because he understands taxes. It was a professional plan, and that's why we were able to make it work and accommodate it in the budget. So Tim, thanks for getting that done. Now we proved it on our end. Let's hope the Supreme Court holds up their end of the deal. And if they don't, I've got a solution for that. Elect this guy governor, put Republicans into a supermajority, and we'll go fix it over the Supreme Court's objections. How's that sound? Now the second thing I wanted to talk about just for a second, Tim asked me to talk about was, have you noticed that the governor only talks about the when? When he's talking about the COVID response, he only ever talks about when he might grace us with the ability to open back up. He has never once addressed the how. Well, I got a call from Tim a couple weeks ago. Representative Walsh and I put out a plan for how. And Tim called me up to ask about it because he's a smart guy and he understands the taxes. So here's the how. And here's a governor candidate that can make it work. The how is the Boise plan. How many of you, by the way, have ever had a friend call and say, that's it, I'm moving to Idaho? I'm tired of that. We've got a Boise plan. It's an acronym. We're going to bring a little bit of Idaho to you. It stands for a dual statewide moratorium on all B&O taxes on businesses and impact statements on everything. If you want to see the economy rebound, open up our businesses and give them a B&O tax break for at least through the end of the year. If we do that, our businesses will rebound. You know what will happen too? This is the biggest give to the governor. Tim was on it like that. He's like, well, Jesse, if you do that, then that means you're actually going to grow state revenue because people will buy and sell more. We'll make more in the state income, or not state income, a state sales tax. And Tim's absolutely right. There's a leveraging impact. Another thing that the Boise plan, again, a dual statewide moratorium on business and operating taxes and impact statements on everything. We need to cut out all the permitting that slows businesses down. If we're going to reboot this economy, we need to cut out all the impact fees. I don't care if it's a traffic impact fee. I don't care if it's an environmental impact fee. We do that in the short term, our business and our economy will rebound, and then we won't have to cut all the spending that the governor's now trying to contemplate how to do. Now, of course, the governor wants to go in a different direction, doesn't he? He wants to raise an income tax. That's what he's attempting to do. Well, here's a guy to fight it. Tim, thanks for asking about that. I'm happy to stand up and tell a little bit about it. Because of your leadership, we were able to get some stuff done at the state. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much for continuing the fight. Again, I'm going to bring Tim up here in a moment. My name is Sid. I'm also a longtime supporter and great friend of Tim. I think he would tell you that too. I once again want to be proud to be a member of this state, the only state in the union named after a U.S. president. When we elect Tim governor of the state of Washington, we will once again be proud and be representative. The next governor of the state of Washington, Tim Eyman.
Awesome. A metaphor. This is the right of metaphor. Oh, and then it's parting. It's parting. Well, hey everybody, I really want to thank each of you for coming out today to hear this very important message that I have for all the people of the state of Washington. Well, this may look like a typical day here in Olympia, but the truth is that we are stumbling through a fog. It's a fog of darkness, fear, and confusion caused by misinformation, propaganda, and censorship. The governor said he'd lead the way out. We just had to give up our freedom and follow his orders. Inslee says the devastation to our lives and to our state was caused by COVID-19, and that's simply not true. Coronavirus was bad enough, but the devastation that people are struggling with was caused not by a virus, but by Inslee's 100% political reaction to it. The governor could have trusted local leaders in Washington to make critical decisions for our communities. Local control is the constitutional and American way to deal with big problems. And that's why our president empowered each state to decide for itself how to deal with the virus. Instead, Inslee insisted that he, and he alone, had the right to decide what was good for us and what rights we could keep. I love it so. I love it so. I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have it any other way. I want to thank you all for coming out again. Oh, that's right. That's that same page. I love it. I think over and over and over again, we've seen a governor that's no longer listening to us. Over and over again, we have been having these rallies, these opportunities for citizens to be heard, to be listened to. And over again, our governor is not listening to us. That's why we're here in front of his house for now, to make a very, very loud statement over and over again. And I ask you for us to be able to be emphatic about this. What we have seen with this governor, if we actually get 4 more years, is he's going to hit us with an income tax, a carbon tax, and a super creepy paper mile tax. Inslee's new contact tracing scam is an unprecedented government intrusion on our lives. Forced virus testing, forced quarantines, forced vaccination. Jay Inslee fired more than 1 million people and bankrupted thousands of small businesses. Then he thinks he can quarantine you in your own home. Will we let him get away with it? Inslee insists that he has the power to do whatever he wants. Suspend the Constitution, prohibit us from worshiping, stop kids from learning, install a medical dictatorship. And the truth is, he does not have unlimited power over us. In fact, this rogue governor is just a product of a broken system. And that's what we have in Washington, a broken system, where we, the voters, can vote overwhelmingly for a $30 tabs initiative, and yet politicians and the courts hold it up because they say we were confused. Voters do not want an income tax, yet Inslee is pushing one anyway. People have said over and over again we're against the carbon tax, and yet he's still harping on it. Over and over again, we have seen a governor that's simply not listening to us anymore. And we need somebody that's been fighting for the people for the last 22 years. I am not just running for governor. I am running to fix a broken system. And I'm running to keep the people back in charge of their own government. Too many politicians, especially Jay Inslee, forgot that he actually works for us.
Yeah, that's right.
Not just Seattle, but all of us.
Yeah.
And I am going to change that. And that's why they love to attack me.
Yeah.
You see, I know how to beat them. And it has them scared. Because for 22 years, I have been fighting and trouncing big government elites. The initiatives that I've sponsored, that you all supported, that you all voted for, have saved the people of Washington State over $43 billion. It is not easy to qualify a statewide initiative for a vote, yet I've done it 17 times. It's tough to win a statewide campaign, and yet I've done it 11 times. From this, I draw support from all areas of the state of Washington, because I understand both sides of the state, because I've come from both sides of the state. I was born and raised on the east side of the state. I was born and raised in Yakima. Yakima? If you're not from there, pretend you are. Yakima! It is so nice to have so many people coming over from Yakima. But now I live on the west side of the state. And I have seen over and over again so many people feeling disenfranchised, like they don't feel like they have a voice, that they don't have elected officials that are willing to listen to them. And I've been listening to you for 22 years. For 22 years, I have presented our ideas in ways that where both Republicans, Democrats, and Independents have supported them, and voters know that I am used to focusing on solving these kinds of problems. Oh, I love this stuff. This is awesome. Pages stick together. I think it's fantastic. Roll with it. For 22 years, this is what I've done. And really, my run for governor is simply no different. I am proven that I can win voters across party lines time and time again, and that's why Inslee and his cronies keep attacking me. They know I'm the biggest threat to their big government schemes. Thank God. It is why I am public enemy #1 to Inslee and the Seattle Crazies. Love the rain, love the rain. Since the moment that I entered this race, I've been totally focused on one thing, and that is defeating Jay Inslee in November. We know that we will get no help from the media that will not ask Jay Inslee some tough questions. Does anyone here have a tough question for the governor? We need a candidate that can cut through the fog and speak directly to the people. We need a candidate that can do that is going to actually unify us. And it's simply the reason why we're not having a difficult time is because we're not unified, and it has nothing to do with what our ideas are about less government, more freedom, the Constitution, and family values. Voters have shown time and time again they will vote for our ideas and vote for people from all parties. The problem is we are not united. Internal fights distract us from winning. A circular firing squad hurt the Democrats in the presidential primary, and it certainly isn't working for Republicans in the gubernatorial primary.
No, it's not.
Right now, two candidates, otherwise really nice guys, are ripping each other apart over a he said, she said squabble. Their supporters are at each other's throats, and it is hurting our party. They're each suggesting that the scandals disqualify the other from eligibility. And maybe they're right. What a mess. First of all, it is a rookie mistake to believe that wounding one another will do anything but help Jay Inslee. Second, a candidate for statewide office cannot be so thin-skinned. Even if the allegations against each of these nice guys were true, this primary is patty cake compared to what's coming. Rob McKenna was literally an Eagle Scout, yet by the time they were done with him, they made him into Satan.
He should have won.
There is simply nothing too dirty for the other side, and I should know. I fought for the voters for 22 years, and for 22 years the left has smeared me with lies. If I stumbled even a little bit, screaming headlines slammed me hard. But after 2 decades of it, voters see right through it. In recent years especially, every time I was attacked, it just made me stronger. Just last year, they hit me with everything they had. They spent $5 million attacking me day in and day out, making $30 tabs all about me. And what did we learn? It didn't work. Voters saw through the lies, as they always do, and voters asked themselves, why are you so vicious to Tim Eyman? All he's trying to do is lower our taxes. And the answer is very simple. It's personal. It's revenge. Because no matter how much they attack me and lie about me, voters keep supporting me. I'm just looking down at his sheet thinking, am I going to be able to pull this back? This is one of the key reasons I ask you to support me in my race for governor. Because I have proven to you time and time again that I will never give up. I will never stop fighting for you. Since Inslee shut down our state, I have sued him twice. Both his state court. I love it. Those are so awesome. I'll read through it this way. Say there he is. No. Roll with it, people. Tango on. We need a candidate who may get his heel bruised in that snake pit, but who has it in him to be able to crush the head of this snake. That line, by the way, made a lot of sense if you heard the page that was underneath it. Trust me on this one. The people are crying out for someone to fix this broken system and to put the people back in charge. And with your support, we will unite this coalition we'll need to win in November. And what makes me so certain that we can do that? Because that's exactly what we've been doing together for the last 22 years. Just look at my record. I have delivered proven results over and over again. And from now until Election Day, I will keep my eyes on the prize. And that eye on the prize that I'm talking about is victory in November. We will not allow ourselves to be distracted. We will not allow ourselves to be put off. Not to get into infighting. Not to be attacking one another. Not to be blaming one another. There is one person, and one person only, that's the problem. And Jay Inslee is that person. He is the problem. My ears are burning. There it is. So I really want to thank everybody so much for coming out. I really want to say thank you for taking the time to come out here and blazing this. But there is one other thing that needs to be done for me to officially be in the arena to defeat Jay Inslee. And I need your help to do it. I love having your help. Jay Inslee is not listening to us right now. And maybe it's because we're not being loud enough. Filing for office is different now under the Inslee regime. He has shut down open government and locked up the People's House. Other candidates chose to comply with Inslee's lockdown and filed from their homes. Not me. I wanted to do it with friends, with supporters, with love, with affection, and so with the help of my daughter Riley, flipping around beautiful, there it is. We are going to hit the send button, which is all the paperwork has been filled out, it's all on the screen, we're going to hit it, but I don't want to just do it with me and her. I need you to help me. And what I want you to do is to use 3 words. I want you to say them over and over and over again, but I seem to have forgotten what those 3 words were, and I'm wondering if there might be somebody that might be willing to help. Riley, what were those 3 words that we want everyone to say?
Open Washington now!
Actually, what was it again?
Open Washington now!
Open Washington now! Open Washington now! Open Washington now! Open Washington now! Open Washington now! Open Washington now! Open Washington now! Finger up! Open Washington now! We are now officially a candidate for governor in this race. I love you all. Thank you very much for coming out. I really, really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. Hey, we rolled with it, people. Get used to it. This is the way campaigns work. Love you all. Thank you very much.
Very cool. Would it be okay if Riley is in it too?
Yeah.
Is that legal?
All
right, awesome. Cool. What do you think, Riley? Where do you want to? Where do you want to? I love it. So cool. Pictures, people. It's half the fun. I love it.
What do you all like most about Tim Eyman?
And he's not afraid.
Johnny
Not afraid to speak his mind. Stand up for your
Not afraid to speak his mind.
I'm super happy that there's someone I can trust that is running for office. That the future of my children will be safe and secure. And that he's a family man. The fact that his daughter is here supporting him is a beautiful thing. With who? Oh.